it is pivotal. Have you ever noticed that the world has started almost heading in this direction with some fairly serious intent, right? I mean, think about our culture right now. What do we watch? What do we spend our time studying, really? There's a lot of superhero movies. A lot of superhero movies, and everybody gets wrapped up. It's a multi-billion dollar industry now, right? Following comic books. I grew up with them. I love them. I love all the superheroes. And it's interesting because all of them have, a similar origin story. It's one person from humble beginnings that had this, catastrophic scenario happen to them. And what did they do? They rose. It's that simple. It's almost every story. And yet, it must be working. It must be, back when we could go to movies, it must be the thing that separated them from their $25 for 2 tickets and some popcorn, depending on where you live. That is a powerful story. It's that power of one. It really is important. And so the part of that power of one that I want to talk about this morning is related to New Earth and related to our platform. You see, I tend to be fairly realistic and focused on the things that actually meet the pavement and move things forward, right? I am idealistic, but realistic is the only thing that really moves things forward. And, we've all heard about the guy that can't commit, right? Or that maybe, and I apologize if this is you, but the crazy old aunt, right? That should be committed. I heard about that growing up, right? In fact, her name was Aunt Quacky. Her name was Aunt Jackie, but we called her Aunt Quacky. But beyond the jokes and the stereotypes, what does the word commitment mean to you? It's interesting. It's an interesting question because it's the definition and you give it a definition and then you're challenged in circumstances and suddenly your definition may change. It seems that each person has their own real relationship to that word, our understanding of it, our willingness to engage on it, even the level of commitment that our commitments varies widely from one person to the next. So I ask you again, what does commitment mean to you? It's an important question to ask because how you feel about your commitments has a lot to do with the outcome, not to mention the quality of your life, right? So let's look at the definition, right? It's always a great place to start. What do words have meaning and what do those words actually mean? Well, commitment. The act of committing, state of being committed, those are always the best, right? The act of committing, engaging oneself. But I want to focus on number 4 and number 5. I would move those up to 1 and 2. A pledge or promise, and added after a semicolon is the word obligation. I would separate those. I would have made a 6th one personally. A pledge or promise or obligation. And number 5, engagement or involvement. There's 2 different things there, right? To bind or obligate as by a pledge or assurance, or to commit oneself to a promise. These 2 definitions are both really correct, but they actually feel really different, don't they? Think about that for a second. I'm engaged, I'm involved, commitment, or a pledge, an obligation. Strikingly different. The first seems a little more inspired, voluntary, and willing. It's focused, it's energizing, right? The second feels heavy with obligation, maybe not even the positive bent on obligation, requiring courage and strength to fulfill a promise. So the question really is, which are you? Which am I? Which are we? Which definition fits with your understanding of commitment? Do you feel dedicated or obligated? It's a really important question, dedicated or obligated. Many people hesitate to really commit to what they want because it's hard. right? They know what it means to want that. Even if they can't facilitate the words, they know what it means because they're afraid to do it, right? They're afraid of what they'll have to do if they do commit, or they'll be obligated to a promise. What if you can't keep that promise? What if you truly commit yourself to something and you fail? That kind of relationship to commitment isn't always inspiring. It's heavy, it's burdensome. For a commitment to feel good, it has to be a challenge that you deem worthy. A vision, a goal, something that you genuinely aspire to, not something that you should have or something that you have to do, obligatory, different. This makes all the difference between having to push yourself to honor your commitments and feel, or the difference, right? Or feeling pulled to step up. You see the difference there? It's a really powerful difference. So let's say there are 3 principles of commitment, right? Commitment is a bit like glue, holding together the many pieces of your creation, this thing that you are making. It's your desire, vision, resources, plans, time, action. Here are a few more factors that you may want to keep in mind. Number 1, genuine commitment stands the test of time. Let me say that again. Genuine commitment. I think of this in terms of relationships, and it's obvious. Genuine commitment stands the test of time, even if you have to recommit along the way. Right? Number 2, in relationships, commitment is a two-way street. You only get it if you're willing to give it. Otherwise, there is no commitment. It's crazy, it's chaotic, and it always ends. Number 3, if you feel trapped in your commitment, if it is a pair of handcuffs for you, you will consciously or unconsciously look for ways to escape. That's a fact. If this commitment that you have made somehow makes you feel trapped, you will look for an escape. Ask yourself in the history of your life or in your observance of other people's lives if that's true. Remember, every significant decision is a reflection of your commitments. So look closely with an honest, open mind, and your deepest commitments will begin to reveal themselves. Are you committed to your freedom, to play, or to feel responsible, to loyalty, to health, to comfort, right? To your family, time. Take the time to investigate yourself, to reveal your true commitments. This path of inquiry can be immensely helpful. I promise you that it can. And I promise all you have to commit to do this is really a few minutes. And you'll start to uncover what you really want. That said, even the most compelling commitments, the ones you really feel good about, can sometimes be difficult to honor over time. A little bit like that Tony Robbins thing we talked about last time. Maybe you just got there by motivation. Sooner or later, many commitments fall prey to the vicious attack of, yeah, but, well, I tried. This is a silent traitor to each of us individually. It's where the word self-sabotage starts to creep in. Every time you feel your commitment waver, and sometimes it brings along its little friend, just this once, right? Together they pry open this door of doubt in your commitment, and the commitment starts to fracture. And those spider fractures, those spider veins go through the whole thing. Did you know that doubt is an opposing force of commitment? It's true. It's an interesting thought. Doubt is an opposing force of commitment. And as soon as it creeps in, it eats away at commitment, quietly dissolving your resolve from the dark corners of your mind. This is why it's so dangerous to have people around you that don't support you in your commitments, because they just facilitate that doubt within you. You can't do it. It's impossible. It's too hard. Those kinds of things. That's why it's so important to make commitments that really feel good to you, ones that align with your core values and support your dreams and your goals. This makes it so much easier to stay committed because only one path is the clear path forward. Perhaps Rollo May said it best. He said, commitment is healthiest when it's not without doubt, but in spite of doubt. That's when you know you're on the right track. So think about so many different situations. I mean, dieters, divorcees, relapsing addicts, they'll tell you making a commitment is not a fail-proof security system because we're people, we're human beings. We are not fail-proof. We are fail-prone. So it's important to understand that commitment is not a promise to be 100% perfect. Commitment is a promise to yourself to continue to persevere, to continue to try. And one of the ways that you can do that is through a little word, evangelism. See, because when you become an advocate for your commitment and an advocate for others making commitments, well, then suddenly it's internal and external, right? It's about the focus. So let's talk a little bit about that. An evangelist is the face and voice of, let's say it's a church, it's a company, it's a product, whatever it might be, of the mission and its why. We've talked about whys in the past, right? They narrate a compelling story and engage via multiple different channels, and they build a community of users and customer evangelists who help their product or cause, right? Because the product has some sort of unique value. Think about the differences here. In a membership situation, as a member of something, it is internally focused because you're getting something out of the group as a benefit for your membership. You participate in the group, you share testimonies, stories with others that inspire you, and you take advantage of the benefits offered, develop personal and internal satisfaction, right? And that's not bad, that's good. It's just not the same. On the other side, an evangelist, an external focus, somebody that is clearly a member, but also driving it outward, externally focused on those same things, those same principles. They make it great. Can you imagine trying to evangelize for something that is garbage? You couldn't do it. You have to believe that it's great, right? And when it is, you position and you teach the cause. For example, when you go out and talk about the products, none of our people go out and talk about these products and say, well, they're good for you. It's like a multivitamin. It's not that. It's so much bigger than that, right? They love the cause. It's become a part of them. They're an evangelist. They localize and individualize, their team, their group, their philosophy. And they look for agnostics, right? These are people that believe, but they're not sure what they believe. People that are, like a product atheist, they don't believe these things are good. You're not looking for those people. You're looking for people that are looking for real answers, that have an ear open and a heart open to what you have, right? And they let people test drive the cause. You're not afraid of people walking away and leaving when you're an evangelist. Why? Because you know that they will see it like you see it. You're a believer, they're going to come in and they're going to be a believer too. Because to you, it's just so obvious, right? They learn to give the demo, they provide safe, easy first steps to get people in to this system of belief. Every product manufacturer, every product company in the world wants evangelists, not just members. That's a hard thing. Think about it. Here's an example of, maybe further insight. Here's a member mind from a product perspective, right? You are in a city at the bottom of a very large dam that is obviously holding up many, many trillions of gallons of water. Without it, your town would be devastated, wouldn't exist. So You wake up one morning and you look out, and as a member, maybe you see a crack from the top all the way 3/4 of the way down the dam. Well, the member mind says, there's a crack in the dam, I'm out of here. And they get themselves out. They're not invested in the town or in the house. They're a renter, right? When the conditions no longer favor them, they go to the next town. That's how a member might think. When it no longer works for me, I'm out, right? But when you've bought in, when you're an evangelist and you love this town, you wake up, you look out, you see the crack in the dam, you wake up the whole town and you say, wake up, everybody, we have to fix this. There's a serious problem and everyone's in jeopardy. Why? Because like I said, they love the town, they love the people, the library, the grocery store, the clerk at the local Bikram yoga. They are invested and they are believers. And I tell you, if you write anything down from this part, write this. This cannot be faked. Belief in the product and evangelism for the product cannot be faked. It is real or it doesn't exist. That's it, right? That is a true fact. It just is. It's one of those things about the universe. And here's what's interesting. Everybody wants an evangelist on their team. Let's suppose that you are building your team, you're building your network, you're building your associates, you get your customers and a couple of them say, I want to do what you do. And so they join your team as an associate. Wouldn't you love to have them be an evangelist, really fall in love with this product and start sharing it that way? There's nothing necessarily wrong with being a member. I'm not trying to disparage being a member. It just is. The issue is simply one of sincerity and knowing what you are and what you want. See, however, I do know this. It is a very few people that started with the idea of being a member. Many of the people that came to you to start their business came to you wanting to become an evangelist, wanting to become, something different. They had these goals, these ideas, these dreams. They had grandeur in their minds. Everybody wants an evangelist on their team, but then when those things aren't fed, when that water doesn't get to that plant, what happens? We talked about the doubt creeps in and fractures it, and the evangelism never materializes or it disappears. So how do we resolve that? Well, like attracts like. It really does. Like attracts like. It's an awesome hypothesis. I really like it because every time I look at it, it seems to be true. Even in the natural world, it seems to be true. It may explain how similarity within couples even arises, right? But based on this like attracts like hypothesis, individuals relate self-perception on one trait to the selection of that same trait in a partner. Isn't that interesting? You could even do this. There are some studies that point this out about owners and their dogs, and how sometimes you see pictures of these folks and they look like their dogs. It's fascinating. And it's because like attracts like. Therefore, right, there's a study on this by Buston and Emlin in 2003, and they said, therefore, we would show a preference for individuals with traits similar to our own, we as human beings. Those who are well endowed in a particular trait will also be likely to make strong demands for that same trait in others. And that is an interesting wording. Those who are well endowed with a particular trait can make demands, strong demands, it says, for that same trait in others. See, like attracts like. If you want to be the person that has these powerful evangelists on your team, then you must what? Become one. If you are an evangelist, the likelihood of finding an evangelist and then the likelihood of them finding one dramatically increases. I guess a way to summarize that would be one, find one, repeat. Be one, find one, repeat. It's important. I know that it sounds like, well, maybe a bit like Tony Robbins, right? But I promise you this, it's because it's an internal thing that reaches outward and is evangelical in its zeal to go out and find people and help them with everything that they are looking for, right? That fascination with the success of others, that fascination with products that actually make a difference in the lives of other people, in their health and wellness, that moves them to do more. Everybody wants that person. The only way to get that person is to be that person. So it's a challenge to all of you. The fact is, I know that most of you are already there. The only difference is maybe just reaching out a little bit more, right? Reaching out a little more frequently. And I know that all of us can do a little more and be a little better to actually make a difference in the community around us. I know that that's a challenge for me and a challenge for all of you as well. And that is the difference between membership and evangelism.